I am definitely in a new season of life these days, and trying to juggle the things of being a homemaker, being a stay-at-home wife, stay-at-home mama, raise my babies, and then still feed that entrepreneur, creative side of me. And so I think my content might be changing just a little bit for right now. And I'm excited to be able to take you guys along with me and kind of share a little bit more of the deeper side of all of this. Good morning, friends. Welcome back to the Honeystead. If you are new here, my name is Kaylee and I'm a beekeeper, herbalist, homemaker, just trying to share a little bit of what we're doing to hope to inspire and encourage each and every one of you to do the things that bring you joy. Now, over the years, I have shared about our homesteading life, about raising pigs on a pasture, about raising animals, chickens, and of course my favorite, honeybees. And then my content started to change a little more into the herbalism aspect. Now, taking a step back and actually looking at how my entire life has evolved to right here where I'm at, I can't help but think that over the years of growing as a person, growing as a mom, growing as a friend, as a wife, all of that, growing in faith, big time growing in faith, I now understand that my content with what I'm sharing, my life, I don't even want to say content in life because honestly it is very much the same thing. It's just that some days I bring the camera with me, some days I don't. But it is a very holistic approach to life, and that is focusing on mind, focusing on body, focusing on my spirit, focusing on the food that I'm eating, the herbs that I'm using, what I'm growing, how I'm raising, just my day-to-day life. And I know that sometimes I'll share a video about working in the bees and what that does to me, and I truly treasure that. That right there is like something that feeds my soul so much. And then I know that I'll grab the camera and I'll take you into the Apothecary and I'll teach an herbal remedy, something that you can make from home. And then there might be days where I'll grab the camera and I'll show a meal or show something that I'm making. And I think that even with all the years that I'm doing this, I'm actually starting to realize that what I've been sharing is just life and just the holistic approach, what I do for myself, what I do for my family. And so I hope, as the seasons that I'm in life, I hope that you guys continue to follow along and continue to maybe learn something old, and of course not being afraid to get your hands dirty along the way. And although I don't quite think that my content is going to change, I'm still going to share a lot about herbal medicine. I'm still going to share about beekeeping, except right now it's a little too cold to get into the hives and share that with you. I do think though I'm going to share a little bit more about the reason why I'm doing this. And bear with me, okay? Because this has been many years in the making, and sometimes you have to actually take a step back to see the bigger picture. And sometimes you just start something and you're not quite sure why, but you feel that you need to continue until that day comes that you actually realize what your why is. And that, I think, is going to be the main basis of my future videos. The reason why. Yeah. I think that's the way I think I'm going to end up going with all of this. So I'm gonna unpack this, I think, story while we do a little bit of work up in the apothecary, kind of multitask a few things. And honestly, it works out better for me while I'm chipping away at some of my daily routines, things that I'm doing on a normal basis, and kind of just have one of these videos where I'm sharing just a little bit more of my heart as you guys continue to get to know kind of who I am and what I'm about. So I have a few tinctures that we set up back in July, and it's time to go ahead and press them off, which means you're straining out the plant matter from the actual liquid, which has now harnessed all of that goodness from each of the plants that we decided to set up as a tincture. This is an alcohol-based tincture, but you could use apple cider vinegar if you are trying to get away from alcohol. But I have some echinacea, which is the aerial parts of this one. I also have some of the root as well. Then I have a wild lettuce that we set up and a valerian root. The valerian root is one that I have a funny story that comes with that one. I actually had a beautiful valerian root tincture that I set up specifically to press off during one of my workshops. Well, in the midst of traveling down to where we were having our workshop, my jar decided to break and my car smelt like valerian root. Well, it still does, and this was back in July. So now this tincture is ready. But I figured this would be a good time as I'm kind of, you know, pressing these off and maybe filling in and sharing a little bit more. But I felt like this maybe would be a good time to kind of have some of the discussions that I feel like is important to have and talk about just a few things that have been weighing on my heart a little bit. I'm gonna make a mess. So I know I'm gonna make a mess. I need to get my tray, and then I also need to put my apron on because I do have plans later this afternoon. I don't wanna be right back. So one of the things that's kind of been weighing on my heart really goes back to the beginning of all of this. When my husband and I got married, we're actually getting ready to celebrate our 19th wedding anniversary, which I am just like, what? What just happened? My oldest is going to be turning 18. My youngest is going to be turning 15. I know a lot of people don't realize that I have older kids, but this goes along with the things that I'm doing to take care of myself and hope that maybe it might help one of you. Now, when we first started YouTube, it was very much, you know, the homesteading mindset, which in my life is very much still the homesteading mindset. And I might have said more about, in the beginning, my goal was to be as sustainable as possible. I think I was looking at the smaller point of view back then, because I've also realized the blessing of actually incorporating and bringing people in to your life, you know, supporting other people. Like right now, my goal is to have a dairy cow on my farm, but I'm not in the season right now, and that's okay. So what I'm doing is I'm learning about dairy, raw dairy, and I'm supporting another farm. I've got a herd share, which you know, before I go and invest on a dairy cow, I wanted to try it and see what I think, and I love it. Now I'm excited. Still not in the season to have my own dairy, but in the future it might happen. To then my channel, obviously going way into the beekeeping, which I loved. What I learned from keeping bees is that there's a sense of, I don't even have words for it. It's just this calming effect that happens to you when you're amidst the chaos, you know, and you're sitting there and you're working all of these bees and you're looking into their life. And you could hurt them if you mess up. But if that happened, they still have the chance of being resourceful and, you know, how healthy, how they thrive. So, you know, that turned into starting to express the feeling of what it was like to become a beekeeper. And then more recently, the shift on actually teaching people the herbs that I used when I was a kid, and going back to school, and, you know, encouraging people to grow a garden. And of course, in my eyes, that entire connection with honeybees. And so this whole time I'm growing food and I'm raising a family, and I'm living, you know, I've had this mindset of the sustainability aspect. And while that is important, I do believe that it is important for you to have certain resources for yourself. I think now my why behind everything that I'm doing is shifting again. And I'm actually seeing it from a bigger picture. I'm seeing that my why am I choosing to live a healthier life? Why am I choosing to focus on the quality of food that I'm putting into myself and my family's, you know, into my family as well? Why am I choosing to continue to go out and work the herbs and do this? And of course, take the camera with me, which again, even that, you know, my why behind, I had to learn this. I had to learn why, and I think it took me a long time to actually have the right answer. But I do truly believe that if we're not speaking about the things that are considered alternative, all of this is going to be forgotten. You know, I choose to live a healthy life because the why behind it is about my children. I know at some point I'm going to get old, and I know at some point, you know, I might need help later. But if I can do something right now for myself, for my health, that will affect the outcome later in life, that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm choosing to do all of this because I want my children to not have to take care of me in a way where I might be burdening them. And so for me, choosing to eat healthy and to go outside, and not only just to go outside and go for a walk, but to actually find gratitude every day and share it, to walk in faith, to grow my faith, to grow food, to do all of this. This, I think, is my why, because I know that if I didn't, the outcome might be different for me later in life. And so my why is because I love my children, and because I know that when they become adults and they have a family, that we're going to hopefully encourage this, you know, this cycle of living. And I think the whole point is just having that ability to listen to your body. And so, will my content be changing? Yes and no. I'm still going to continue sharing all of this, but I think I'm going to do it in a manner that helps you see the bigger picture. Herbal medicine is a wonderful thing that you can add to your routine, whether that's cooking, whether that is brewing a pot of tea, whether that is taking a tincture. But I genuinely believe that outside of just herbal medicine, there are life decisions and things that you can do to better support your overall health. And I think that's the topic that I need to have, because that's the one thing that I haven't really shared much about. I mean, I do share a good bit of my life and I do share what I'm doing, but I don't necessarily share about the whys behind doing. My why, and like I said, initially was because I wanted to be as self-sufficient as possible for my family, but now I think it's a bigger picture. And I think that there are people who need to be reached. And while I feel like in the beginning when I first started sharing, it was more about the sustainable life, I realized that this truly sustainable is not necessarily about the food, the herbs. I think the sustainable life is more about the mindset. And so, in short, I want to be able to reach the people with whatever season that they might be in, and talk more about the holistic life, talk more about the ways that you can find just a mental peace that really does affect your overall health. And so this is the season that I'm in, and as I continue to share, I hope that you continue to be here, and I hope that maybe we'll be able to reach more people, and I hope that we will be able to just continue to encourage and inspire, and just appreciate you guys over the years watching my life evolve in a way that I didn't really see it. I didn't see it, but I see it now, and that's what's important. I see it now. Now, that being said, I very much talk about sleep on a regular basis, being a part of supporting your overall health. If I could find a funnel. Okay. So this right here is valerian root. It is one of my, I'm gonna say it, it's one of my favorite plants to grow because I think that the plant itself is stunning. However, stinky. I do put valerian root in some of my nighttime teas, especially if I'm really having a hard time falling asleep. But every time I brew a pot of valerian root, my husband is like, what is that smell? Why does it smell like feet? So I have learned, lesson. I have learned that instead of actually putting it in my, brewing the root as part of my tea, I set it up as a tincture. So I will use a 1:5 ratio. So 1 part valerian root to 5 parts eyeball, to your menstruum, the alcohol that I'm using. And I was a little heavy, I think, when I set this tincture up, so it is going to be a little bit stronger. But I found that instead, I like to use valerian root as a tincture. One, because it doesn't smell as bad, and it actually tastes really delicious in a tincture form. And I'm setting these up so that these can go, one as a gift and one for my personal cabinet. Valerian root is really good if you tend to suffer from back spasms and neck spasms as well. I will say, if somebody tends to experience like the opposite effect if they take Benadryl and it makes them like wired. This might do the same exact thing, so just be mindful of that. I do have a good friend of mine who took valerian root and was like, they were up all night. So I felt horrible. I felt really bad for them. So definitely learned a lesson there. They learned that valerian was not their herb of choice. Let's see. I think I'm gonna put a little in a small dropper bottle so that we can take this to go. And I might have to wash some bottles before I press off the rest of these, because my inventory is running a little low. And that's why I always make it a point to be able to tell every one of you, hey, before you go and start using an herb that I speak about, I'm trying to hunt my labels down. Before you go to use an herb, definitely do your own research. Make sure that you are able to take it, especially if you are on any pharmaceuticals. This one is a really good, potent, like, we're gonna go to sleep. I do think that it's important because it only helps you become a better herbalist by doing your own research before you use an herb. So I will continue to share that no matter what. I think I might have gotten a little too excited about pressing these out before I looked at my inventory, which it does look like I am running low on some stock. So I think I need to go back to the house at some point and grab some amber color, grab my amber bottles to be able to press these out. But in short, the echinacea we'll use as an immune stimulant. So I won't use it all the time. This is a hot and heavy, I need something to boost my immune system. So I would use the echinacea for maybe like 10 days to 2 weeks max, just to boost the immune system. Now these are the flowers, the tops, which I normally will use the root, but I wanted to see how pretty they ended up. But the flowers are able to be used as a tincture. And then the wild lettuce has multiple different code names, or multiple different common names, like opium lettuce, prickly lettuce. But essentially it has a lacticarium, which is like a substance, a milky substance inside of it. And I have done videos on wild lettuce before, so I will make sure to put that down there if you guys are interested in learning more. This is one of my favorite ones that we'll use to help with pain. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to do some dishes because I need to get this pressed out by tomorrow. So we might have to come back up tomorrow and do this after I take these back down to the house and wash them. So I'm gonna shift gears. I got too excited about pressing out tinctures and not enough prep time beforehand. So I'll put these back down in the cool dark space, and then we are due to make another product, and that is one that I know I have been excited to share with you guys about. And I've had a lot of people ask. So one of the questions that I have been asked quite often is, how old am I? And I think this goes along with why I want to share a little bit more about my life and kind of like what I'm doing as I'm doing it, so people can kind of paint a bigger picture. Because yes, I will use herbs. However, there's so much more that you can do for yourself, especially with the holistic approach and mindset. Now, this is something that I do on a regular basis. And to answer the question that I am not offended whatsoever to share, I'm actually going to be 39 this coming year, which means I am closer to 40 than I am to 30. And I know that some people will look at me and they don't realize that I'm that old, but I do contribute a lot of my youthfulness to, you know, how I take care of myself. I don't necessarily go work out at the gym. I go out and do hikes. I drink a lot of water. I eat a lot of protein. I try not to eat anything that's, you know, comes in a package. However, when my husband goes shopping, it's a whole nother ballgame. Working on that. But, you know, I do cook the majority of my meals, except for that occasional Mexican restaurant that we pop into every so often. We've got a really good one that's fairly local. So yeah, I mean, I think that what you put into your body and what you put on your body, which is what we're getting ready to make, does play a whole role. And I don't think sometimes that it's not necessarily to the things that you're putting into your body and putting on your body, but it's also what you're putting into your mind. I think that plays a huge role in your overall health. You know, our mental health is very much connected to our physical health, and so all of this really is a piece of the puzzle, and it depends on what you want to do and how you want to put it together. But I have some beautiful rose that I'm actually powdering, and I don't know if we've done this video, and so I apologize if we have, but I'm due for a new one, and that's why we are going to be doing this. Now, I do this recipe a few different ways. This one I'm just going to use straight rose, but I've also added in frankincense powder. I've also added a bit of some bentonite clay. But this is going to be a simple rose and honey product that I put on my face. So this is about the consistency that I like. Then I'm going to pour off a little bit of honey. Probably do about a cup. It's a little slow moving because it's chilly, but that's okay, so am I. And it's totally acceptable to enjoy your potential face mask, you know, as an edible, which this can be. What we're making is my face mask that I do on a fairly normal basis. The only thing that I will say is if you are a beekeeper, or if you have hives near your house, be mindful not to go outside with this on your face, because the bees will become attracted to it. And they're not gonna hurt you, they just wanna lick the honey that's on your face. Ask me how I know. Just saying, this is a lesson that I have learned. Now, what I've done is I've powdered all of this rose down, and I'm gonna combine it with my honey. Now I'm gonna use a wooden, if I have it, I'm gonna use, I have one. My number one favorite tool that I use in this Apothecary are wooden chopsticks. And I'm gonna eyeball this, but I feel like I'm gonna make a mess. Let's see if we can. Okay. I am going to try not to make a mess, but I think I have maybe about a half a cup of powdered rose, which I do roughly. I would say, yeah, probably about a half a cup, but you can add more, you can add less. Honestly, I just kind of do it. I don't really think about it. I just mix the two together. I'm debating on if I want to put it in the bowl or if I want you to be able to see it, which I think I'm gonna have you see it. Now you can sift this in, or you can add a little bit, take your wooden chopstick. Let me get you guys closer. There we go. Add you guys, make you hear a little bit closer. And then I just take my wooden chopstick and I just move it all around. Move all the honey, mix it all, and essentially you're gonna have like a powdery paste, which this is called an electuary. I'm really excited to start sharing more about all of this stuff because a lot of this is gonna be in, I believe, hopefully, is gonna be in my book that's gonna be coming out. So, really, that's a good amount, but we might add just a little bit more. And if it gets too thick, just add more honey. So, all the things. Let's talk about what this does to your face. And this is one thing I'm super, super pumped about. But essentially, rose. Rose is such a wonderful plant. It has multiple herbal actions. It's an astringent, it's a nervine, it's a vulnerary, it's an anti-inflammatory, and it's also an antimicrobial. And then mixing this in with honey, my goodness, you have just made yourself a power pack full of a face mask that you could eat if you wanted to. I don't mind rose and tea, but I think sometimes if I eat it, it might be a little strong. But for this, I've definitely tasted it and it really doesn't taste bad at all. Any bigger bits you can just pull out. I thought I got the majority of them, but I guess I didn't. But one of the reasons why I mainly will use rose mixed in with honey. So rose is really wonderful for supporting the new cell growth, specifically for like maturing or damaged skin. I've also read so many benefits about how it can restore and help with wrinkles, and that is why I use this quite often. I'll make a mask, I'll put it on my face, I'll sit, do some work on the computer, or I'll soak in the bathtub or whatever to do for my self-care. But this is my go-to face mask that I use on a fairly regular basis. And the other thing about this is it can make a really lovely homemade gift with simply 2 ingredients that you can use in many different ways. I mean, of course, like, yes, I can eat this, but it works so lovely on your face. So now I'm just pouring, these are 4-ounce little amber colored bottles or little jars. So I'm gonna divvy it up. I might actually have a little bit more, and this may become a lovely gift for some lovely women in my life, and men, no judgment. Men can absolutely use this honey rose mask, and that's what I call it, honey rose. Maybe one day I'll take some of my ingredients and make some more products, but for right now I'm excited to just be able to share the fact that you guys can do this for yourself in your own kitchen. Now I have a few people that do ask, like, where do I get some herbs from? I do grow a good bit. I also forage, but there are some great companies out there that you can easily support. One of my favorites is Star West Botanicals, and I have a link that if you guys are interested, you can use. I'm gonna make a big mess. The one thing though that I want to just kind of continue to do and to share is just that, you know, share the beauty behind a lot of this, share the inspiration, share the whys. You know, again, when I first started YouTube and sharing, like, I had no clue what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. I just like to take the camera with me and share. But I know that there's a bigger conversation that we should be having. And I hope you guys continue to stick around for this conversation because I think it's going to be a good one. So, I'm gonna go ahead and label these. They turned out, you might get some bubbles just like cake batter, but let's see. But I think they turned out really, really, really good. So now all that's left to do is put a little on my face, sit back and relax, and I think I'm gonna do some work on my computer. I've got a little bit of work that I have to do for the editor, for my book, and all of that is gonna be coming. So that is what I'm gonna get off to next. Thank you guys though for coming along with me on this day and just hearing a little bit of my heart and just kind of the direction that I think I'm being led to go. Bear with me. You know, I don't always know everything, but I know what is on my heart, and I hope that it hits somebody. So as always, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and learn something old. Bye guys.